What's up, guys? Welcome to Operation B, the podcast. I am your host, Jamie Thurber, and I am here to take you on a journey of deepening, of expansion, of understanding more about who you are and why you're here and how to operate in an optimal way that allows you to do what you want to do, feel how you want to feel, take care of yourself truly, and support everything that your heart desires. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. This is your host, Jamie Thurber, and this is the Operation B podcast. Thank you guys for being here. Today, we're going to kind of freeball it. I was driving to multiple appointments this morning thinking, what do I want to share today? What do I want to talk about? I have like a list of topics because, as you know, this second season, I really wanted to showcase some of the real life tough things that happen when you have to adjust your life because of things that happen, whether it's health related or just stuff that's out of your control, and you have to learn to adjust and bob and weave as necessary. And so I have quite the strategic plan of how to line all of that out for you and when I want to talk about what. But today, none of that felt right. What felt right today was for me to be really human and raw with you, and for several reasons. I mean, I feel like I'm always pretty raw with you, but I usually don't record if I'm not in a certain kind of headspace. I try to bring a lot of energy to the conversation. I try to be focused. I try to, those kinds of things. And to be honest, like as we've been doing season 2 and I'm listening back to the audio, there are many times that I'm not super pleased with how I word something, or I feel like I'm repeating a word in places where I have better language to describe that or explain that. And I probably do, but the reality is when you're coping with something emotional, energetic, and physical, there's a lot of instances where your capacity in your brain is just not what it is when you're at your best. Dun, dun, dun. Moment of silence for the dramatic effect of that. It's very difficult to deal with, honestly. I've had to give myself an exceptionally large amount of grace, and just, not dog on myself about it, but be able to be realistic about the reality that my capacity in my brain is just not as quick and as great as it typically would be or how it used to be. I know it'll get there again, but right now, the capacity that my system has to manage and handle things is much lower, because when I say manage and handle things, I mean like podcast interviews and coming up with topics and writing long blog posts and big email marketing things and all that stuff. It's just like I don't have as much room in my bandwidth to come up with all of those things as I did all the other years. Because instead of, pushing down and quieting the physical sensations and all that comes along with that, I'm now sitting with them actively. Like while I'm talking to you right now, I can feel the bloat that's happening in my stomach. I can feel the pain that I have in my one arm that makes it feel like it's being pulled down. I can feel the slight headache that I have because I haven't drank enough water today and I got a really bad night's sleep last night. Like those are all things that in the past I would not have been willing to acknowledge until I powered through like a good little soldier and ignored them to get other things done. And so when you're it's really funny because those of you who have been around me long enough, you know that I have, for a very long time, talked about being present and being intentional. And I have been those things. But it's on such a different level than I ever knew was possible, because while, yes, I was present, while, yes, I was being intentional, I wasn't the level of present that I am now. And I know that as I get more of a handle on what's physically happening and my physical body is healing more, that capacity where I can just be super quick about everything and my brain is always firing on 1,000 cylinders will come back. It's just not always there right now. Somehow I'm able to always have it on when I'm talking to my clients, But what I also know is my latest call with a client these days is 12 o'clock. And there's a reason for that, because if it gets too late in the day, that capacity is gone. And I had a moment when I was thinking this morning about what I wanted to talk to you about. I thought about how last week I had a long-term client of mine and her daughter were driving through town. And they were driving across the country from Colorado and going to South Carolina. And they decided that they were going to route themselves so they could drive through Missouri and see me, which is amazing. I haven't seen her in years. We could catch up. I had never met her daughter before. It was just a really cool experience. But they got here a little later than anticipated, and it was later in the afternoon when they arrived. And when I got there, I just kind of for my own, so that I wasn't too worried about it, for my own sanity, for my own security, I guess you could say, I was just really honest. I said, hey, I'm not as fast. I'm not as quick-witted right now as you're used to me being, especially not at the end of the day. So that's just where I'm at. And she was like, oh, no, you're fine. I understand. But I was thinking, she knows that other version of me really well. We've actually spent 10 days on a cruise ship together. So, she knows how I operate. And I didn't want her to think that something was, wrong with me that I wasn't aware of. So I told her that. And there were several times that I was talking to her and I was like, wait, what's the word? What's the word? Or totally lost my train of thought, whatever. It happens. But those were things that I never did before. And it's still an adjustment for me to know that there's nothing wrong with any of that. It doesn't make me less of a badass. It doesn't make me less intelligent. It doesn't make me less capable. It's just the current season that I'm in. And I think that story and realization kind of leads me into what I was just going to share with you today. And it's the fact that, I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Four Agreements. It's one of my absolute favorites. I always recommend it to people because no matter when you read it, even if you read it 1,000 times, every time you read it, you're in typically a different stage of life, and there's just different pieces of it that stick out to you. Same thing with The Alchemist. The Alchemist is that way too. But The Four Agreements, we'll link it in the show notes below. It's by Don Miguel Ruiz, and it's a classic. But in that, one of the agreements, now I don't know them all in order anymore, but one of the agreements is always do your best. And what's beautiful about that is we all have our version of what that means. And in the book, it goes in depth to explain to you that your best looks different every day. Your best looks different hour to hour, minute to minute, situation to situation. Your best is not going to be the same always. And the whole point of that chapter is that you have to be able to, if you want to truly do your best always, no matter what situation it is, and trust that that's what you're doing, you have to give yourself the grace and the space to know that fluctuates and other things impact your quote unquote best. And so that comes with the territory. And so I think in a world that expects us to produce a certain kind of way and respond to people in crazy senses of urgency that are not always necessary, and everybody's constantly connected, on the phones and on the socials, I think it's important to remember that those expectations don't have to be your own. Whatever you think or you worry someone else might expect of you might not really even be what they are expecting of you. And you don't need to put that pressure upon yourself. A couple previous episodes, we talked a lot about pressure, the outside pressures of things, and how just we get caught up in that without realizing it's not even our own expectations. It's just other crap, basically, that we're not even realizing that we're trying to live up to. It doesn't even align most of the time with who we are. And so always do your best, right? So sometimes these days, my best is way less than I would have ever provided in the past. Something that allows me to do that now is that I feel like I wore this shirt in a different episode. I don't know if I did, but it's my shirt that says Integrity Matters. Let me move my mic so you can see it. Whoop. This is on my website, Home Sweet Defiance, also. Obsessed with this shirt. It's one of my faves. So I feel like I did have it on in another episode, but I don't remember. If I did, there's another promo. But it matters because my integrity exists in the fact, and the reason I can give myself grace to have my quote unquote best be maybe less than I would have ever put forward before is because I know, and my clients know, which are people who are paying me, a good amount of money to get on the phone with them and help them with their lives and businesses. I know because I've made this very clear commitment to myself, and they know because I've made a very clear commitment to them, and it's written in our contract, that if I am not at 100%, I will not get on the phone and fake it with them. So even in the moments where parts of me are like, oh my God, no, don't, like, you don't want to cancel, you don't want to move the call, whatever, I have to check in and be really brutally honest with myself about the fact of, are you going to be able to give them what they deserve on this call? And if the answer is no, I reschedule. And they respect that because they know that's the reason. I would never get on a phone call. I always tell them, I'll never get on a call and half-ass it with you. Like, I refuse to. I will not feel okay with that. That is not something that sits well with me. And I wouldn't want to provide, my goal is to always over-deliver. And I think any of my clients would agree that I typically do. I do extra stuff I probably shouldn't do, but I do it anyway because it makes me happy and it helps them. And I've always done that. And so I always want to over-deliver. And that includes the quality of my attention, of my capacity, of my energy when I get on the phone with them. Where my head's at really matters a lot. And I think it's extremely important that we realize that it's okay for us to have days and moments that that's not where we're at. Maybe we're not at 100%. I had a client this morning send me a message and she was just having a couple, annoyingly crappy things that happen when you have a life on the internet occur today. And she's like, I want to quit. Like, I want to quit. And I had this thought and I go, what I love is she may say that to anyone else and they may think that and assume that that means she never wants to social media again. She wants to shut her brand down, whatever. But what I know that to be is I want to quit, air quotes, is I'm not feeling it today. I need a break. And that's where she was at, and that's the reality. So like a lot of times too, it's okay for us to have those feelings. It's okay for us to have a moment of like, dude, this sucks today. I need a minute. Like, I need to step away from it. That is acceptable. We are allowed to do that. We should respect that within each other. It's not something you want to blast all over your business if that's where you're at, but like to have somebody like me that's a safe sounding board to be able to be like, this really sucks today. And know that they're not going to judge you and they're going to let you be who you are. Like, that matters a lot to have because, again, like we call this Operation B, but at the end of the day, it's like, this is Operation Be a freaking human being. Like, remember that you're human. Remember that none of us are perfect. Remember that we're all learning all the time. We're all just trying to figure it out. Nobody has all the answers. It's just not the way the world is. Even the people you look at that you think have everything figured out, they don't. None of us do. Most of us are just figuring it out as we go along. It's the people that you see that are successful, mainly like they just don't ever stop trying to figure it out. I sat in a meeting a couple weeks ago about a project and people were talking about like, what if it doesn't do this and what if it doesn't do that? And the type of project that it was an online brand and platform. And I know the topic is very popular and I know that it's very needed in the space and the quality that we're producing in the project is like spot on. And so I'm confident because I've watched so many of these things boom into amazing things and so many of them fizzle out. But the ones that fizzle out because they stop doing it. The attention, the commitment, the confidence goes away and they don't ever get it back. I was telling them in this meeting, I go, I know that this is going to work as long as you don't quit. If you stay consistent with XYZ thing and you don't quit, this is going to work. Have you ever seen that meme where like the guys, there's two pictures and like the guy's mining into the side of a mountain and there's nothing, and then he quits, but like you can see on the other side of the mountain that he almost was hitting, like the diamond was literally right there. He just hadn't gotten to it yet, but he quit right before he got to it. It's the same concept. People that you see that are winning in your, does your definition of whatever that looks like for you, because let's be real, success looks different to every one of us. In people that you see that are winning, it's just because they never stopped trying. They never stopped trying. They let every, roadblock or bump in the road be a lesson. They learned it. They kept moving on and moving forward. And that's really the way it works. Because, back in the day, I think my version of successful looked like women who were flying wherever they wanted, whenever they wanted to. They were filming things and had like a team doing behind the scenes footage. They were speaking at events. They were hosting events. They were always launching products online all the time and selling them out. And like all these great dollar numbers were coming in from all of that. And I looked at that as the level and the position type of success I was looking to get. And like all of those things are great. And it's not that I don't want them to an extent, but after my like seasoned self of going through running businesses for so long and just being through everything I've been through, what I now look to are people who have freedom, people who have time to do what they want to do while also fulfilling their passion. People who are truly, though, guys, like people say that they're doing that and they may post the cool like, beach photos, but they're not happy. Like they're not, and you can tell. There's too much content getting put out constantly for them to be enjoying said vacation, and there's just pieces of that. So like for me, the success is people who I see that have really beautiful systems in place so that they can spend their desired amount of time helping people. And then the rest of the time, the systems can do what they're doing. And that person can then go spend their life doing the quality things that they want to do. That's freedom and success in my personal opinion. So like now in this stage of my life, and that's what I look at. There was also a time when I looked at people who are published authors as successful and the kind of success I wanted to achieve. But we all get to go through our own phases with that. And I feel like it's okay for us to adjust what we're giving a shit about. Like what it just is true, just reality of human growth and evolution. So earlier today I had a meeting with a potential photography company for my wedding because we booked a date and there was like 2 things I wanted to book straight away. So I have a 2-year window before my wedding. I did that on purpose so that I could continue focusing on my health and the business and like not be stressed. I want my wedding to be easy and fun and beautiful and not stressful. So, but we booked the venue and I told Tony, he's like, so we don't have to do anything else for like at least a year and a half, right? And I was like, well, because it's November of 26. And I said, no, I got 2 things I want to book. Well, 3 technically, quickly. And then I won't have to do anything for a long time. And he's like, okay, what? And I said, there's a certain dessert vendor I want. I said, I want to make sure that we lock our date in with the dessert vendor because they only have one thing one team that does the thing I want. And the photographer and videographer, those were the 4 things. So venue and then photographer, videographer, and then the dessert vendor. I already marked in the dessert vendor. That was easy. And then I was interviewing photographers. Well, I followed my gut on it. That's one thing I do a lot, honestly, with vendors is like, if I see good reviews and I see good product, then I kind of follow my gut on how I feel about their processes and how they have things lined out, what they provide at the end, blah, 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 what their guarantees are, all that good shit. So anyways, I'm having this conversation with this woman who I don't know, obviously, like she's a consultant, and we're talking about weddings and she's showing me all the things that they include in their packages and blah, 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 like all that stuff. Trust me, there's a point and it's not about weddings. But I was telling her, I said, I'm like the last friend in the group of people my age that's getting married. I've watched all my friends and a lot of my cousins and things get married. And what's cool about that is that now, especially because me and Tony have been together for so long and we're like really in sync about what matters the most to us about this process, is that there's a lot of things that like 20-year-old Jamie, who thought she was going to marry a certain person, cared a lot about for her wedding, that now like I would rather like step on cut glass than have that as part of my wedding. Like there are so many things that just by evolving as a human being, evolving into a different type of woman and into a different type of partner, there are so many things that I thought were like the thing I had to have that now I could give two shits less about. And I'd actually almost rather not have most of it because it's extra crap to do that I don't want to deal with. And it's so freeing. And so that's just like a real life example that's not business related, as far as like how as we grow and evolve and we're really always stay true and honest to ourselves and we're always doing some personal reflection, that our ideas of success or what we think we need to have changes. And to me, it allows such a like lighter feeling when we let ourselves do that. Like if you're sticking to something and you don't know why, if you're like, I have to have XYZ thing, that's my version of success, or that's important for blah, 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 blah. And when I ask you, why is it important to you? If you don't know why, likely that might be attached to an old version of yourself. That might be something that you really genuinely don't care about anymore. And a lot of times we almost never say it out loud because we almost feel stupid, or we feel like someone's going to think that, you know, how dare her change her mind. It's like, dude, you can change your mind all you want to, especially about things like that, you know. And it's just a matter of, again, being true to yourself. Like if you want genuine freedom and like a life that feels more easeful and that feels simpler, it doesn't mean you have to live in a house with one chair. Like some people do that and that's their jam. Cool. Like we have a lot of stuff in our house and I don't really love it a lot of times, but I am not physically able at the moment to like do a huge purge. But it's about what you want in your space, and to be able, if you want a life that it feels more blissful and easy and free versus heavy and full of pressure, no one can do that but you. And oftentimes it's just a mindset shift. It's a perspective shift. So a way to do that is if you're looking at things and you're like, I want, and you feel so like pressured or like a lot of urgency to create whatever said thing or, you know, reach whatever level in a certain time frame, I really ask you to take a moment and zoom out from that and ask yourself why that's so important to you. And if it's not clear to you why it's so important, then you probably need to spend a little time on it, thinking about it, reflecting on it. Where did it come from? What does it stem from? What does it mean to you? Is it even still in alignment with where you are or where you want to go? Because it's okay to change that up. Like, it's totally okay. I remember when I moved to Iowa, people were like freaking shocked. So many people were angry. So many people had so many feelings about that. And it was the most freeing thing I've ever encountered for me to say, I don't care what you think. I don't need to explain to you why I'm going. I'm going because I want to. That's it. End of story. Just like me choosing coaches I choose. Most of the time it's a gut feeling. I choose them because I want to. Like I was telling the lady on the videographer thing or photographer thing today, I was like, I literally chose you guys because I thought the name was interesting and I just had a gut feeling about it. And I'm glad I did because it was like the easiest consultation I've ever had. They literally checked every box. And as long as Tony agrees that, you know, I'm not booking things like that without running it by him first because it's a, you know, group effort here. But it's going to be the perfect situation. It was so easy. When you let things be easy, you get things to be easy. Like my life is not simple, unfortunately. That's where I'm heading. That's what I want so desperately. But that leads me back to the beginning of this conversation when I was saying I was thinking in the car this morning, what topic should I talk about today? And I thought, you know what? We're just going to freeball it about the fact that life does not always go according to plan, but that does not mean that you're failing or quote unquote off course or behind schedule. I mean, do you think at 37 years old, this is what I thought I would be doing? That I would have closed a lot of things down and turned the dial down so drastically on my business and life so that I could deal with this extreme illness? No, No, not in a million years was that something that I would have told you I was going to do. Do I know at the core of my being that it's exactly what I need to do so that I can create more of what I want? Yes. Do I know that it's what's necessary for me to have even more freedom? Yes. Do I know it doesn't happen overnight? Yes. I wish I could say that people constantly aren't telling me. It's like annoying, honestly. Constantly people, you're still sick? Like, why is it taking so long? It's like, well, first of all, let's like learn a little etiquette of what not to say to humans, because that's like, what the hell is the point of saying that to someone? Like, okay. And it used to make me feel like I needed to explain myself, but instead I'm like, well, I'm not getting a band-aid, I'm getting a heal. We're healing the root, so it doesn't happen overnight. Like, that's my only answer, if I answer. But it's like, you have to accept the reality of things. You know, we often want this quick fix, and it's like, quick fixes typically don't last long term. And as you all know that have been here for a long time, I'm a big fan of foundation building. I believe in the fact that if you do not have a solid foundation, working towards other things is stupid. Like, you're wasting your time because it's going to crumble eventually. The foundation is the most important part. That's why my life hasn't fallen apart while I've had to take these breaks to do this stuff, you guys. It's because I built a solid foundation for years, and I've been talking to you about that for years. There's tons of free videos and free podcast episodes and all kinds of stuff, blog posts to teach you how to build your own foundation. If you don't know how to get to them, shoot me an email and I will point you in the direction. But you can go to my YouTube channel and there's a bunch of videos, foundation, and you just type in the word and you'll find it. But that is in your business, in your relationship, in your health, in your mindset, in your home, in your family. Everything should be built in a solid foundation. Otherwise, you're literally a house of cards. And that doesn't last long. That's not successful. It's like a fleeting moment, which is not what most of us want. So instead, put the energy into something. It might take a little longer, but it's going to be worth it every time because it'll last. And so that's where, like, for me in these days like today, like, I did not sleep well last night and I don't know why. And it's frustrating because I do all the things right all the time that I'm supposed to do for my body. And just sometimes it just doesn't freaking cooperate. And it's aggravating and it's not fun. But it is just the reality. Like, the reality is that's what happens sometimes. And I just got to go with it. There's been times, and I still fall, victim to this from time to time, but where I let that drag me down all day. And sometimes it's a mental thing just because I'm so aggravated. And sometimes physically my body's like, okay, well, not enough sleep last night. We can't function today. There's been plenty of times that I've had to say, dear client, I did not sleep a freaking wink last night and I feel like I'm going to die. So we need to move our call to tomorrow or whatever day this week. Or like, I'll do makeup calls on the weekends all the time for clients if they need to move or I need to move. It's just part of life, and there's nothing wrong with any of those things. It's just the reality of being a human. Like, I wish that we put more self-responsibility on being human beings, but also like more understanding. Do I think that means people can just walk around and not do shit and be like, well, it's because I've been having a human being moment? No, you guys know better than that. It's not how I believe, but I do believe we need to have a little more compassion for the fact that none of us are robots, no matter how much the world's trying to make us act like it. Because we definitely don't need to act like robots. That's not a great idea. Trust me, eventually you'll spontaneously combust. Then they're done that. Like, bad idea. 10 out of 10, do not recommend robot life. 10 out of 10, do not recommend. So today, did things go according to plan? No, my doctor was running late, so I was running late for my appointment. I woke up late this morning because I did finally fall asleep. Of course, this is what happens, right? I did finally fall like a good asleep around like 5:30. So then I woke up at 8. My alarm didn't go off. I have a call at 8:30. Like, luckily I was able to, these days I like wake up and I'm ready to roll, which is nice. But shit, it's just, it is what it is. And we're supposed to go out to dinner for a friend's birthday this evening. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. We're going to see how it goes over the next couple of hours, how I feel. But I did know I needed to show up here with you today, and that's what I did. But I'll tell you, if I would have not felt well, like right now I feel okay. I just know that I don't know what's going to happen based on that bad night's sleep, but like, it's just the reality of my existence right now. And I have to be okay with that. I have to allow that to be a deciding factor and know that it's okay. It's not always going to be this way. It just comes with the territory. It also comes with the honest, intentional, integrity-based way of living where you honor your own body above everything else. Man, why aren't we taught that? We're not taught that at all. We're taught to honor time and businesses and jobs more than our own, like, basic human needs. And it's fucking wrong. Like, it's wrong. It's ass backwards. And it's literally crushing our souls until we find somebody like us, like me, like you, like my coaches, where we can have these conversations and go, oh my God, okay, I'm not insane. Like, this is not the way it should be. Our bodies weren't designed to operate like robots, friends. So just know, some days don't go according to plan. Don't let it ruin your whole week, though. Don't let it even ruin your whole day. It happens sometimes, so don't be hard on yourself if you do that. But if you learned anything from anything I shared today, I just want to tell you, you have the power to shift your perspective at any time you want to. You have the power to say, I am not going to let this ruin the rest of my week at any time in the day that you want to. Any moment. That is your choice and your choice alone. So don't let other people make those decisions for you, because that's really where the power comes from. It's brick by brick of you making true and honest decisions out of integrity for yourself that build a foundation that's your own foundation. That shit belongs to you and you alone. And then imagine the beauty of what you can build honestly, in ease, on a foundation that's built in integrity for yourself, for your own unique self, your own unique body's needs. It's pretty beautiful. Trust me. Like, it's still mind-boggling to me that that's even happening. I hope that you found some nuggets in this episode. As always, if you liked the episode, please show your love wherever you like to show your love. Share it with somebody. Let me know what you're thinking of these episodes. If you hate them, send me an email. If you love them, send me an email. If there's something you'd love to hear me talk about, let me know. And I hope that you join us back next week. See ya. Thank you for listening to Operation B, the podcast. To support this message and to support the show, please make sure that you like, follow, and share the podcast wherever you enjoy listening. And be sure to leave us a review on iTunes. Thank you for being here, and see you next time.